And hello, everyone, and welcome to the Week 1 edition of the Coach's Corner for the 2021 Wedge football season. Great to have you back with us here on Rivalry Family Media. Another week of Coach's Corner here on Facebook.com/Media Rivalry. Todd Robbins alongside Leominster High School head coach Devin Gates. And Coach, great to have you with us. It is officially game week. You put out the post on the Leominster Blue Devils football club page. It feels like it's been a long time coming. Some 15 or so months ago was the last time we got to actually talk about a game week of football. I got to imagine everyone's chomping at the bit.
Yeah, no, the kids were excited. It was exciting to put that out there and actually really be, now that we know we're in game week, with game week preparation. So, the kids are very excited to finally be working towards, getting out there for real.
It's Pod 1 action. Leominster travels to Shepherd Hill. We'll have a full preview of that game coming up in a couple of moments. But, Coach, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the changes in the schedule that happened pretty much almost immediately following our first edition of the Coach's Corner. We, of course, broadcast last Monday night, the kickoff of this season's edition of the Coach's Corner last Monday. And then immediately we're greeted Tuesday morning with the schedule being a changing already, as this one involved moving the 139th meeting of Leominster and Fitchburg. That game was originally scheduled to be played in a theoretical 7th week of this season. It was going to be on the other side of everything going on. And then there was, some concerns administratively expressed by other athletic directors about what that would mean, how that would affect the spring scheduling. And it just goes to show just how tight knit and interwoven all of the athletic departments are in order to, of course, make all of this work under these circumstances. And of course, that is dealing with this COVID-19 phenomenon and trying to play athletics. So Algonquin is out off of the week 2 schedule. In comes the 139th meeting of Leominster and Fitchburg. Well, Fitchburg will come to Doyle Field. For Leominster, of course, it'll be your second game in this modified season. For Fitchburg, who did not have a week 1 scheduled opponent, it is their first game coming into this season. And so all of a sudden we get a Leominster-Fitchburg matchup far earlier than we expected, still at this non-standard time of the year, Coach. And of course, already not a game has been played, not a whistle is blown, and the schedule's already changed. How did that affect your preparation?
Well, we're worried about Shepherd Hill right now, so it doesn't really affect our preparation whatsoever. We're taking it one day at a time. So, we didn't, like I said before, put our best foot forward with Shepherd Hill last year. So that's all we're really focused on right now in terms of our preparation. I do have to give kudos to Athletic Director Dave Palazzi from Leominster and Craig Antossi from Fitchburg too for working out the four team trade deal to make it happen. I do think it's important that we play whenever there's a football season. Fitchburg and Leominster have to play. I firmly believe that, and I know Coach Graham at Fitchburg believes the same thing as well too. So happy that we're able to make it happen. But again, that's as far as our team, our preparation right now, it's not it's not been discussed other than there's been a schedule change at the end of a practice. So. We've got business to take care of first. And, once that final whistle blows on Friday night, then we will certainly move into prep mode for Fitchburg High.
Of course, while you're passing out the kudos, we'll also toss a kudos to Marlboro High School Athletic Director Jeff Rudzinski for kind of being the key kind of piece in that trade, as of course Fitchburg was scheduled to play Marlboro. You guys were scheduled to play Algonquin. They are in separate pods, Marlboro and Algonquin, that is, so had to arrange a swap, an agreed upon move, probably benefiting from the fact that Marlboro and Northborough touch each other in a lot of ways. So it's not one of those circumstances where they were going to a spot completely geographically different or to deal with people that they weren't familiar with, as Marlboro and Algonquin do routinely play each other under normal circumstances. So that was certainly a linchpin piece for all of these items coming together as well. So for those of you scoring along at home, the 139th meeting of Leominster and Fitchburg will still take place at Doyle Field, but instead of in week 7 at the kind of onset of May, it will be on March 26th, 7 p.m. that game at Doyle Field. Coverage per the usual, the K-Zone WPKZ across the region and Leominster TV in the city of Leominster for that coverage as well. So that's what we could say as far as schedule changes go. And Coach, I'm thinking to myself about kind of turning the attention to this week and the fact that you're going to take on an opponent who the only real video you have is 2 years old at this point in time. So you're going to be preparing for a team. There's really been limited scrimmages. I can't even imagine what film exchange was like, even though it was administered via huddle. I don't know what you would send each other, maybe home movies. I don't know what you really send one another that's 2 years old. What can you learn about each other? How can you scheme for a team in Shepherd Hill that you're going to play this week off of film that's 2 years old?
Well, I think with Shepherd Hill, I mean, they're pretty regimented in what they do schematically on offense. They run it all through their youth system, all the way up through the high school. So, it's personnel that changes. I don't know if scheme is going to be something that changes. Especially they're in the same boat that we are. They haven't been able to get together and do new things or put in new things. So they're going to do what they do best, and that's the wing tee, and that's no splits on the offensive line and pound the ball at you and do it with tempo, and they do a very good job of it. So we didn't handle it well last time we played a year and a half ago, and we're going to try to handle it better this time. And I feel pretty good about where we're at in our preparation. But again, it's football is football. There's going to be certain plays that they're going to run, that they've run forever down there, and nothing has changed, in terms of their coaching staff or any new personnel that would make us really think otherwise. So we'll be prepared for any wrinkles, and we'll watch out for what we need to. But again, we have to focus on the guts of what they do. What their core philosophy, their core plays are. And we'll let our guys be confident against that, and then we'll deal with whatever else comes on our as coaches on our end after that. But making sure that the kids are feeling confident in what they're going against, so they can play with as little hesitation as possible.
It sounds to me, and I'm going to assume not just Leominster going through this mindset, Shepherd Hill, obviously, the opposition we'll be talking about throughout this episode, but also I've got to imagine all of the coaches going through this prep this week, all across Massachusetts, have got to be looking much more introspective as they prepare for week one. And we talk about that on a normal year, but I imagine more so even now with just so much time removed from the last time everybody played a game of substance. Introspection, worrying about what you can control in your own program, far more important than adapting to the scheme of whoever the opposition is.
Yeah, and that's really what we've kind of put on our kids. Like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do it well, and we're going to prepare you the best that we can for it. And like I said, we can't prepare for everything under the sun. We don't have the time, as coaches or the time to develop, throughout a season that we normally would be able to do. So, we're going to, I know offensively our playbook is trimmed pretty, pretty a lot. That's been an exercise for me, because I'm usually, as we go along, this looks good, I think we can get this, and I'll add wrinkles in here and there, and it's really forced me to look at our personnel. What do we do really, really, really well? And let's run that, in a couple different ways. So it's not, we're not putting too much on the kids to learn at this point. We got to play with speed. We got to play with confidence. And luckily I think we have a good enough returning base where the kids understand what we're really trying to do now in year two of at least our offensive system. Defensive, they've been in that system for a little while now, but you can definitely see since we started practices a couple weeks ago and into now, the ability of our guys to grasp things a lot quicker with what we're trying to do, against certain schemes, at least offensively versus defense.
You alluded to it moments ago, so I'm going to poke at this a little bit more, because I've always kind of wondered how this thought process goes, right? I mean, quite literally, and without any exaggeration, there's literally like thousands of football plays that exist out there, right? I mean, all the way down to the flag football, you go to the trash can and make a little button hook in. There's a million different choices that coaches have when they're putting together schemes, when they're putting together a playbook for a season, when they're evaluating the personnel that they have. What's that thought process like? You've alluded, of course, to Shepherd Hill. There are things that they do, and there are things that they've always done. You could make the same argument about Leominster, Fitchburg, Shrewsbury. Program to program, there are signature things that stay year to year and coaching staff to coaching staff. And then there's individual philosophy that plays in. Clue us in a little bit on how that thought process goes. What is it like when you quite literally have thousands to choose from, and how do you narrow it down to the things that are going to work well in your program?
Well, I mean, like I said, I think we look at, in my experience in kind of going through like what I've coached and what I've been exposed to, there are certain things that I feel like I see pretty clearly on, on the field, like how certain plays, go up against certain defenses. So that's what I tend to gravitate to for myself. And then, knowing what we can do off of those kind of core concepts with the players that we have. So does this core concept that I feel like I know how to teach, that I've, have experience with, does that fit our players? If not, then how do I kind of restructure it so it makes sense? It makes sense to me, and I can call it the right way and know how to, know what the the changes are off of it, and our kids will be able to get it and run it successfully too. So I think it's part of what we want our coaches to be confident in what they're coaching, as well as our players being confident in executing it. So, I'm not going to step outside of my comfort zone in terms of, putting in new things that maybe look really good when you watch it on highlights or something like that from another school or a college program. If I don't know how it works against a certain defense and what the adjustments are, then I can't put that in. So it's really relying on what I've done and what I've been exposed to, and how that works for our players too. So it's a pretty good marriage of both.
When you look at maybe the world of football at large, right? I know the last, maybe 2, 3, 4 years, the sexy thing to talk about, at least at the professional level, is the RPO, the run pass option. Find a broadcast you can get through without hearing RPO getting explained somewhere along the way. And I look through those concepts, and at the professional level, it feels a little bit like the Christopher Columbus effect, right? They've discovered something that's been going on at the college and the high school level forever. There's not a lot of new items in that conceptually. And so I guess in a lot of ways, although people have heard it one way and heard it described maybe every single Sunday, the reality is at the high school level, that's been going on a very long time.
Yeah, that's where it came from originally, right? Coaches joke around, there's not an original guy in the bunch, and that's not true. There are a lot of, I'm not one of the original guys, that's for sure. But there are guys who are forward thinking and trying to stay ahead of the game against how defenses adapt, and everybody tends to jump on the bandwagon with it, and tweaks things and makes it their own a little bit. And it's the last couple of years have taken the approach to offensive coaching it kind of like basketball a little bit too, with the quarterback being the point guard and looking for space, and and trying to get athletes through, and how do we get the ball into our athletes' hands, and just kind of looking at it as a basketball metaphor, I guess. So so that stuff, it's been going on for a while, especially at the high school level and the college level with the RPOs, and now when it makes it to the pro level, it's kind of gone through its baptism by fire from all the other levels. So but no, there's a lot of excitement around some of that stuff, and some teams can do it really, really well. And when I was at Fitchburg State with Garrett Delakiai, Garrett ran it really, really well, and we did a lot of that stuff there. And there's years I've had quarterbacks that don't quite get it, and we don't run it. So it all depends kind of on who we have. Can they see it well? Can they get the ball out on time? Is it a catchable ball? So stuff like that all kind of plays into to whether you're going to have an RPO or something like that in your offense as well.
You alluded to it a little bit ago, talking about core concepts and then building off of those core concepts into their general iterations. And what was going through my mind is, I know you're an educator by day, as am I. And I think the obvious cliche is that coaching and teaching are very much the same job. They're just, diverse curriculum, so to speak, in their general area. But I think people do in some ways hear it, and because they hear it so often, it just kind of washes over them. But in a lot of ways, there's central tenets. There are things players have to know, and then there are advanced things that you can either decide to add and build on to that concept, scaffolding that concept, or there are things where you have to go back and go, you know what, we might need to reteach that concept before we go back at it again another week.
Absolutely. It's just, scaffolding is a great word, great adjective for it. And we gotta start at level one, before we get anybody else up off the ground, and before we start building higher and start to teeter, we got to make sure our foundation is very, very solid. And as a teacher, we can only execute what we've taught the skills for the kids to be able to execute, right? So we want to do a certain thing. We got to make sure as coaches that our kids have those skills to be able to be efficient in running those plays, before we move on or adapt or, throw in a wrinkle or build on any of those core concepts itself. But, we teach our core concepts first, make sure that the knowledge, the skills, that the kids have all those to be able to master, AP, it's an AP course in, running counter or something like that. So they have that before we start going into advanced theories in counter. That's kind of where we're at.
If you don't know what a counter is, that's not a good start in the grand
No,
scheme of
it's not.
things. I'm thinking now as we're having this discussion, one of the things that I know that maybe perhaps we haven't put out as much into the community has been some changes in your teaching staff, so to speak. Your coaching staff has had a few changes, some people just moving around and getting to coach a few other things due to changes in personnel. You've also got some new faces. Walk us through some of the changes in the coaching staff and some of the returning folks that will be on the sidelines as well.
Sure. Well, it starts with, I'm obviously still here and I'm calling the offense and coaching the quarterbacks. Coach Kevin Murphy, the defensive coordinator, is still keeping that role along with the linebackers. He's coaching them on defense, but then is also coaching the offensive line for us. Brad Bentz, who was there last year as our special teams coordinator and O-line coach and D-line coach. He had to move on and find a new job. It wasn't, amicable. We wish Brad was still here, but understood that he's got to make a decision that's best for him and, and his family. And, so Kevin Murphy stepped into that role as the O-line coach. Chris O'Day is a new addition to the staff. He's going to be coaching D-line and helping out with O-line. Chris was actually in the booth for us as our defensive booth guy last year. So he's familiar with the program, familiar with the players, fits really well in terms of our staff, again, being educators, being mentors, being counselors. That's what most of our staff is. And Chris has had a long career in DYS and working with kids. So he fits right in with that. We're excited to have him on board. And then Hunter Papa will running backs coach last year. He's going to stay coach of running backs and then going to coordinate the special teams for us too. Did a great job for us last year. Jose Navarro is still here coaching receivers and DBs, along with Mario Meza, who's also returning to help out with receivers and DBs too. So that's and then we have Jeff Tossi as well returning to coach the tight ends. So as far as the varsity staff, that kind of rounds out the positional coaches. And then we do have a couple volunteers too. My father being one of them. It's still weird seeing them wear blue. I'm happy about it, obviously, but I think that was the more shocking thing to me than actually coming to coach at Leominster was seeing my dad actually wear blue. So, but it's been fun having him on the sidelines and helping out. And then of course, John Salvatelli and Ed Burns helps us out as well. So great bunch of guys, fun to be around, great to talk football with all the time. And, they really care about the program and care about the kids. So lucky to have a great staff.
You've also been doing a great job of trying to mix in some of the younger voices as well, trying to get some folks involved. I know at one point Garrett Delikiai was going to be a part of the coaching staff, and then he got an opportunity to go back overseas and continue his playing career. But in steps, I saw in today's rundown, Connor Marchand is going to step in as a volunteer assistant coach as well.
Yeah, Connor's helping out with both a little bit with varsity, but mainly with JV1 as well. Connor's doing remote. He's still going to Wesleyan, just doing remote classes right now and working. So whenever his schedule, allows it, he's able to come down and help us out. And Connor's going to be a great coach. Just watched him kind of put the linebackers through drills one day. He's got the makeup, he's got the mentality, he's got the maturity. I think he's really going to be a good coach. And then when Garrett's done playing, he decides he wants to hang it up. Garrett knows what I like to do offensively very, very well. And I think he'll fit in fine when he comes back. But, I told him, as long as you can go and do it and have fun slinging it, go and sling it and have fun. So and he's doing really well out in Spain right now. So happy for him and happy to have Connor. Connor's got to finish school and finish his career first, playing wise. But, he's going to be a really good coach once he decides to go down that road.
Well, and it's a unique year because of obviously where this football season is and obviously the rest of the things that are going on across the world. We know that Chris Lindstrom is helping out, at Shepherd Hill, giving, some contributions from not just a top college athlete, but an NFL athlete as well into the Shepherd Hill program. Obviously, Leominster able to bring back some names. I mean, this kind of unique timing of all of this does play in for bringing in some of those younger voices and getting them exposure to coaching, exposure to working with young athletes and getting to lead young athletes, but also getting a chance to figure out what coaching is all about.
Yeah, no, I think it's been a great opportunity for those guys. I think it's in Connor's blood, and he's been, playing, football forever, and his grandfather was a coach, and I think it's great for him to kind of have this exposure, and you kind of get to see how the other half lives a little bit, in terms of coaching, what prep needs to go into it, what kind of questions need to be answered, and he's really kind of been a sponge so far, and and like I said, he's kind of mature beyond his years right now, in terms of putting the linebackers through the drills and his approach and his delivery to the kids, I should say, or his presence. It's really, I wasn't expecting it, being as young as he is, but he's definitely got the makeup to be a great coach.
Before we turn our attention officially to the week 1 matchup of Leominster and Shepherd Hill, let's take a look at Leominster's upcoming schedule. Of course, Shepherd Hill here in week 1, as we see, and then as you can see on your screen, you could strike Algonquin from the March 26th week 2 slot, move the 139th meeting of Leominster and Fitchburg into that slot in week 2 on Friday night, March the 26th. And then for Leominster, you see at Shrewsbury and Wachusett, back-to-back road games to start the month of April on the 2nd and 9th. And then week 5 back at Doyle Field. That is April the 16th versus Doherty to wrap up Leominster's home slate, pending the pod playoffs, which will now wrap up the season on April the 23rd. And that will be the conclusion of this spring season, this wedge season, call it what you will. But that is what we're going to see over the next handful of weeks across this Leominster Blue Devils schedule. While we're talking about schedules, let's talk about the games around the region here in week 1. We mentioned Fitchburg is idle. They'll play their first matchup against Leominster in week 2 of action. So other games across this pod 1 here in Central Mass. Algonquin travels to Doherty. Shrewsbury travels to Wachusett to renew a very exciting rivalry year in and year out between those two schools. Over in Pod 2, Neshoba travels to Grafton. Marlboro is at North Middlesex. And then a K-Zone radio special. St. Bernard's travels to Groton Dunstable on Saturday for a 2 o'clock kickoff, that game being played at Neshoba Valley Tech. Countdown to kickoff on the K-Zone for that one, 1:30 p.m. That'll be the back half of a week 1 doubleheader for Billy, Kate, and myself. But, Coach, some exciting games out there, a lot of new faces in places. We're going to get to meet a lot of people and maybe preview what is going to ultimately be the fall 2021 season that we'll see down the road.
Yeah, I think you'll get a good look. We'll have, certainly as far as we're concerned, you're going to see a good mix of older and younger players. So you'll get to see the guys that should play some big roles coming in the fall. And again, with the other programs across the state too. I'm excited to see Central Mass football back and to see what the teams look like, and happy the kids get a chance to get out there. And I've talked to a lot of coaches, and things have been going well, and all of them kind of echo the same thing. It's just you don't know how much you miss it until you actually get back out there, and and the weather starts getting a little bit nicer, and you're out there coaching and doing what you love. And it's just like we said last time we talked, medicine for the soul. It's been great to be back.
No question about that. Speaking of maturation and medicine to be impressed by, yesterday you made an appearance on the K Zone, the Scholastic Sports Zone, with Howie Kahn and his crew, and you brought the brothers Philbin with you, 2 of your captains for this year's team, and I had the opportunity to call in and talk to them, and just for one reason or another, not often we get a chance to talk to players, and I think that moment talking to them yesterday, even long distance, if you will, via phone, it was really noticeable just how far those 2 boys have matured, as far as what I remember of them as young players, quiet, just kind of led by example, and were quiet in their approach. I probably hadn't even heard their voices all that much up until talking to them yesterday. And I was absolutely stunned by just how well-spoken, just how thoughtful they were in their preparation. And of course, the kind of leadership they can bring, not just by example, but actually by speaking, using the voices that they have.
No, again, they don't say a lot, and when they do speak, the kids listen, and I think that's, you know, part of what makes them good leaders too. They're not out there, they're not rah guys, they're not guys that, are out there with, kind of that false energy or that false bravado. They're genuine good kids, and they lead, like I said, lead by example. They've grown into the role. They've been on the varsity since freshman year, so it's, they've been contributing to Leominster football. Been big contributors, for the last 3.5 years, and to now be in this season and already gone through the recruiting process, already kind of dealt with COVID and having to bounce stuff around. They're just excited to play, and their enthusiasm for it and their work ethic. It's, you can see it at practice, and it's contagious to the other guys as well too. And you can put JC Core in that category too. JC is not someone who likes to get on, the radio or speak in front of guys at all too. But you hear him at practice. He's always there rallying the guys, breaking down the huddles and stuff like that. JC is a tremendous leader as well. So we're really lucky to have those three captains, and then have another a huge senior class that are hungry for success, and they're willing to put in the work to get there. It's, they're not expecting it to happen. They're putting in the work so they can get there and earn it. We always talk about, is it really something is it really special if you didn't do the work to earn it? And those guys, I think, really bought into that and really feel that way. And they want that special experience, and they want to put in the work to feel like it's theirs. They own it.
As we turn our attention toward this week 1 action, Coach, we got to look back, at least for a moment, to that 2019 game that the players have had to kind of swish around a little bit, a 35-6 loss that was ultimately shortened and became a mess for a variety of reasons, having little or nothing to do with the program itself. But it's a long time in coming to get another crack at this and get another chance to play Shepherd Hill and kind of, I think, maybe reclaim something for themselves down at Carmagnati Field. How much do you think that will influence their methodology, and how much will that have to be a controlled aggression in the early on, of 2.5 years in the making of getting a chance to go back and get a chance to right a wrong?
Well, I think we have to have a controlled aggression or a controlled response to things. If we go out there, and really, kind of, for lack of a better term, guns a-blazing, I think that they would like us to have that approach. With the way that their offense is, they chip away at you, chip away at you, chip away at you. And when you get to be greedy on defense, or you get to, stick your nose in where it doesn't belong and try to make a play, that's when, a guy squeaks loose or cuts back and he's gone, which is what happened in the game, a year and a half ago. So we got to make sure that we're, again, coach speak, cliche, whatever you want to call it. I mean, we have to be disciplined. We have to go in there and know what our assignments are, what our alignments are, and make sure that we don't stray from that. It's very, playing Shepherd Hill, you have to be disciplined. You have to know your response. You have to know which gaps you have to fill, just speaking defensively, and you have to do it. And you can't get fooled with the eye candy or what they do, like the shell game we've talked about before. You can't get fooled with that. You got to be disciplined, play your responsibility. And I think we have, as far as, athletically, I think we match up, extremely well. We have the guys to be able to make the plays. And it's just a matter of staying true to what we're doing and being able to follow through with the game plan.
And I think this week, maybe more so than ever, given again the long layoff and the chance to really finally play a game of meaning, I think both teams, and maybe every team getting ready to take the field this week, are going to try to find that sweet spot. There's a sweet spot between coming out flat and a sweet spot between coming out, as you termed it, that guns a-blazing, coming out and just flying all over the field and trying to just play with a reckless abandon. There is this mature balance that I think teams that are going to be successful this week and maybe in the ensuing 6 weeks are going to have to find.
No, that's going to be the hard part for the staff right now, is trying to channel that excitement of getting back on the field. We have the excitement of being back playing a football game. We have the motivation of being embarrassed by them last time we played them. So we have all these things that the kids are going to have to harness and channel to be able to play the game, in a heady type of way. Still being aggressive. I don't want to take that out. The last part of last year, we played with a very loose confidence that felt really, really good. I want to maintain that, but it's going to be tough, to channel that, the nerves, the excitement, the motivation, we're really going to have to, as coaches, make sure that we don't make a huge deal out of it, but make sure that the kids, they know, like, hey, we need to be eyes in this, focused, laser focused, whatever however we want to say it. Our kids need to have it, or else we could find ourselves down really fast, by a lot, really fast. And that's not a spot you want to be against that team.
You've alluded to it a little bit throughout the broadcast here, but we'll just take it directly to the point here. Anytime you play Shepherd Hill, whether it's on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball, the game is likely won or lost along the line of scrimmage. How much more pressure does that put on your lines on both sides to know that the one thing they're going to do that you can write down today and predict is that they're going to play physical up front on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, they're going to play physical. They're going to lean on. They got big guys up front, and they're going to lean on us the whole entire time. We told our guys that's where the game is going to be won or lost. They know that. They knew it last year. We're trying to correct, the wrongs that we did, a year and a half ago in terms of our technique, in terms of scheme. This is offensively and defensively, not just talking about that, but offensively, we couldn't throw the ball in that game, and we let some small mistakes become big ones and stall drives. We were able to move the ball pretty well a couple times, but after we got down quick, and then we stalled a couple drives, and then all of a sudden the wheels just came off. So we got to be more composed in our approach and be in it for the long haul. This might be a game that it could end up being a low scoring game. It could end up being, with Shepherd Hill, you never know. When they play St. John's, it's 60 something to 50 something. So, I feel like we have the guys to keep up, in a race like that, offensively. But I have, a lot of faith in our defense, and Coach Murphy's been working the guys hard and coming up with some things that, we're pretty excited to see the kids go out there and execute. So, it's, but again, like you said, right up front, that's where we're going to make our money this week. That's the key to the whole entire thing. We got to be able to stop them from pushing us down the field and leaning on us, and we got to be able to make some room for our guys to squeak through, in our running attack.
We've got names that we already know. We've got a whole bunch of names we're going to learn between now and the 6th week of this regular season. Coach, thank you so much for another great edition here on the Coach's Corner. We will end where we began. Week 1 of action is upon us. Leominster travels to Shepherd Hill for week 1 of this 2021 Wedge High School football season here in Massachusetts. On the radio side, broadcast information, all Blue Devil games, home and away, will be available on WPKZ. That's the K-Zone, AM 1280, 105.3 FM. And game will be available starting with our countdown to kickoff at 6:30 p.m. Online stream at WPKZstream.com. Kickoff follows at 7. Bill, Kate, and myself will have the play-by-play call on the K-Zone, and we will also have the play-by-play call with our partners at Leominster TV. They will have video coverage along with the play-by-play. Comcast Channel 9, Verizon Channel 32, Leominster.tv for the video stream of that one. And while we're mentioning some promotional action, just a couple of days from now, Rivalry Family Media kicks off with the very first broadcast of high school volleyball. It's Leominster and Monty Tech. That game, 5:30 on Wednesday night, will be on the air at about 20 minutes past 5 before the first serve of that match coming up on Wednesday as well. So a busy week of football, volleyball, and more to come here in this week 1 of Fall 2 Wedge spring season part 1. You call it whatever you want, but it's going to be athletics, and we're coming back to you right here on Rivalry Family Media, including next week, right back here on Monday night, 7:30 for the weekly Coach's Corner with Leominster High School head coach Devin Gates. For Coach Gates, I am Todd Robbins saying thank you so very much for joining us. And until later on this week, football and volleyball to come. So long, everybody.